views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Welcome to the transformative show, We Carry the Light, with host Dr. Susan Allison, the show that inspires you to find the light within and shine your light in the world. Who are you right now? And who do you want to be? What is it that makes you happy, helps you feel fulfilled, and living your purpose? Tune in and let Dr. Susan help you discover that you carry the unique light that only you can shine. Now, here is your host, Dr. Susan Allison.
Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. And yes, this is We Carry the Light. I'm Dr. Susan. I'm so glad you're here, either listening live or to the archive show. I know you've heard me talk about my book that's coming out the 1st of December. Yay. You don't have to die to go to heaven. I'm very excited to share my firsthand experiences, journeying to all the spirit worlds and meeting with departed loved ones. I also have met many times with my soul family, my teachers, guides, and ancestors. This has been my focus for 23 years, to help people no longer fear death and to know where their loved ones have gone. In thousands of shamanic journeys, I've discovered without a doubt that there is no death. We are immortal and our loved ones are fine. In fact, they are better than fine. So I have had also, besides doing the shamanic journey work, I've had 2 near-death experiences in my life. One at 16 when I nearly drowned while body surfing. And during that experience, I remember feeling such peace and a sense that I was fine and I was not alone. Now, I didn't go down a tunnel or meet angels, but I felt the peace and the warmth of passing into another world. Also, when I was an adult, my appendix ruptured, and I can remember getting to the hospital and being just delirious. I was really coming in and out of consciousness, and I remember I was in intense pain, but then all of a sudden, there was this amazing warmth and peace, and I felt that same peace and warmth when I was drowning. So at the time, I was just enjoying this blissful state that I was in, and my husband told me later that he saw angels all around my bed. And of course, he was nervous. He didn't know if they were there to get me or if they were there to heal me. And as it turns out, obviously, since I'm standing here this morning, it was the latter. So, it is this immense peace that I recall the most, and the freedom from pain and letting go of my body. And maybe these 2 experiences led me to do shamanic journey work. I'm not sure. I think they had something to do with it, my wanting to return there. And now I can be embodied and still be able to go to what I call a level of heaven while I'm still here. And I'm excited about my new book because I want to teach everyone to do that you'll be able to journey to all the spirit worlds, and you're going to be able to bring the wisdom back from your guides, your teachers, all of the beings that love you. Bring that wisdom back to improve your life now. So our guest today has also experienced near death and transformation. He is David Bennett, who enjoys the retired life of a public speaker, author, teacher, energetic healer, and transformational life coach. He's had many appearances on radio and television, including on Dr. Oz, Angels Among Us, NBC National News, PBS, etc. He publishes articles in numerous magazines, blogs, and papers. David had 3 transformative experiences in his life. In 1983, he drowned and had a near-death experience while the chief engineer of the ocean research vessel Aloha. He experienced a second transformative experience in 1994 when in meditation in Sedona, Arizona, his childhood home. The third experience occurred in November of 2000 when he was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, that metastasized into his spine, causing its collapse. Now he is in remission and retired and disabled, and his passion includes volunteering with experiencer groups and cancer survivors to help integrate their spiritually transformative experiences. David works as an energetic healer using a white light healing technique given to him from Spirit, and as an integration transformational life coach. His book about these experiences, Voyage of Purpose, was published by Findhorn Press and distributed worldwide. You can find out more about David on his website, dharmatalks.com. His next book, which I have read and enjoyed so much, A Voice as Old as Time, is scheduled to be published by Findhorn Press in the fall of 2015. So after all of that, hi, David. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Susan. I'm thrilled to be here.
Oh, good. Thank you. I'm so glad you are as well. I always love to talk to people that have had similar experiences. It's like when I read books about experiences as you have had, I always feel like there's preaching to the choir happening because I get it so much. You know, it's like I just keep nodding my head as I'm reading. So that was very true for your book. Now, is your book out or is it not quite out?
Yes, my first book, of course, was published a few years ago. But
Right.
A Voice as Old as Time, my new book, is out now. September 1st, it was officially released. So you can get it, anywhere you want now. It's available. Awesome.
Wonderful. Same publisher.
Yes, Findhorn Press. They're out of Scotland, the Findhorn community, actually. It's an amazing spiritual group.
Yeah, I'm going to Scotland on Monday for 2 weeks. And where is Findhorn exactly in Scotland? What town is it?
The town is Findhorn, actually.
Okay. All right. So my son and I are going, and he has it planned, but I've read about it for years. I would love to go there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't been. I would love to go as well.
I'd love to go. So I'd like to start with these transformative experiences, as you call them, and starting perhaps with your near death and how these experiences were transformative for you.
Yeah, the near-death experience, I would call that my seed experience, because that was the first major transformative experience that I had, and it totally rocked my world because I was the chief engineer of a research vessel. So, I thought I was an engineer. I was trained as an engineer. I thought as an engineer, and so I saw things pretty much in black and white. And suddenly, I'm thrust, from I die in a drowning accident 2 miles off the California coast, and I go from darkness, absolute blackness, and then into the light, and I meet my soul family. And it was so interesting. A lot of people I talk to don't speak of their soul family, but in the introduction, I heard you mention that term a couple of times, and it just made me smile because that's what I call them, because they're my spiritual family. Right. They're with me all the time, that sort of thing. And I got to meet them, and then we had the life review, and I was shocked by what was really important in the life review, because what I thought was important, all the kind of egocentric sort of things that, an engineer would think is great, becoming the chief engineer, all these things that I thought was important had very little significance in the life review. What really carried the most weight or caused the most ripples in my life were things like when I would do something with loving intention. That would carry, especially when I did something with loving intention, with all my passion, with all my energy. It would create some of the largest ripples, and I wasn't even aware of it. So a lot of times our presence and how we live our life have effects that we don't even conceive, because there's I saw in this life review this interconnection that we have with everyone and everything throughout the universe. And so when we pluck one resonant string on our harp, it resonates out throughout all of humanity, all of the earth, all of the universe. So I also got to experience in my life review my future. because I was reviewing my life, but then I went beyond my life and I started seeing like multiple streams of potential of my future. And so it was a little disorienting, but my soul family just loved me. They supported me through that. And I got to a certain point within that future, all those potentials, that the light itself spoke to me. And I perceived the light as God, and it said, this is not your time. Yep. You must return. And I didn't want to return. In fact, I argued. I thought I put up a pretty good argument. But you can see I'm still here. And but I argued, and the light said, no, you must return. You have a purpose. And so that's kind of why I wrote that first book, Voyage of Purpose, because I speak about the near-death experience, but I also speak about coming back from that. You've got to learn how to live this life with this new reality that you've just been given, and that is incredibly difficult for a number of experiencers, and that's what my life's work became for quite a while. And it's kind of what brought me to writing this book, A Voice as Old as Time, because one of the things that I developed after that near-death experience was a practice of daily gratitudes and meditation. It actually came out of, you mentioned how I had 3 transformative experiences. The second one, and then the third one, the cancer, required a lot of being present and working through visualization, through meditation, in assisting my own healing, And so by doing that, I started this intense practice of gratitudes every morning. The first thing, before I even get out of bed, before I open my eyes, I start with gratitude, and I'm thankful for everything in my life, not just what's good, but the things that are problems, obstacles, things like that. I'm thankful for the opportunity to experience it, to get past it, to work with it, that sort of thing. And so that puts me, just by doing my gratitudes, actually puts me in a meditative state. And then I have a conversation with my soul family in my meditative state, where and this is where my contemplations come from. And they give me little seeds, to contemplate or reflect on. I like to call them reflections as well. And I use these reflections, and then what's really cool is how when I start working with these reflections, maybe I'll have the same one for a week or a month, but as I work with them, I start to see how they apply in my day-to-day life.
Yes.
So, and then people will cross your path that suddenly are on the same journey, maybe, or having the same quandary that you've been contemplating, and suddenly you have some answers for someone else, and you can help, and you can be of service to someone else. And so it just reinforces that interconnectedness that we all have with each other. So I just felt that the second book, Spirit kind of drove me to, it was like giving me those urges. You have to write this book. You have to put it together. We've been working with you for so many years. Let's put it on paper. In fact, the original manuscript was probably twice as big, but the publishers were like, well, I think we need to, let's bring this down a little bit. We don't need to publish an encyclopedia. So I made this nice small book, and I made it so other people can use it. I tried to make it. I broke it up into 44 different chapters of what, the kind of the path of transformation, at least how I experienced the path of transformation. And so wherever you are on your path, and a lot of times we go forward, we go backward, the path is not just a straight paved road. It's got a lot of curves and bumps and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah,
that's what life's all about, right?
That's right.
And so the book is kind of made so that you can go forward and backward and work on whatever works best for you, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I like how you say that you can just open the book to a place and start reading. And I only have your PDF, but I have been doing that, and I've also marked some that are my favorites so far that I would like to talk about at some point. So you gave us a lot to think about in the last things that you were just saying. I also have experienced not wanting to come back, and I wanted to just mention that for a moment. I loved your life review. I loved how you realized what was important and then came back here and tried to change your life with that focus of what is truly important and the love that you gave and received. And probably, I was guessing, probably the times when you also were of service is what I was guessing.
Yeah, service is a big thing. I was just talking to a friend of mine who's going through a rough patch, and we were talking about using gratitude. And a lot of times, service is actually an expression of gratitude when you really think about it. Because we're trying to give back what that's what gratitude is about, is being thankful and expressing that urge to give back for what we've received. And all of our life experiences give us so much that we can then draw upon to give back to.
That's right.
To be of service, you don't have to be rich. You can you can be of service just by helping a friend, just by being there sometimes.
That's right. In fact, that's sometimes the best. I had a guest on my show recently who said, what if your soul's purpose is to absolutely smile at every single person who walks by, and to reach out a hand to a homeless person, to buy them some groceries, to be really thankful to the person who waits on you when you're getting your coffee. What if that is your soul's purpose, is that we have no idea how we could change someone's life just by a smile, is what this guest said, and I completely agree.
Oh, such a gift, yeah. I totally agree with that, yeah. And service can manifest in so many ways, but to be there for other people, that's a great service, any way that you can be,
The other thing you said that really resonated, that you said earlier, has to do with my own experience of going to spirit worlds and being with my soul family and so on, still embodied in doing that. As my husband passed away 2 years ago, and it's been a rough 2 years for me, and I really didn't want to be here, especially at first. This is my soulmate, my twin flame, and he's there, and I'm here, and boy, it sure didn't seem fair. So I can remember having this dialogue, and I dialogue with the light, and I have also done transfiguration where I've become light. It's been an amazing experience all these years doing this, but I said, I don't want to be here. And the clear message was, this is not your time. You have, and I could get teary-eyed thinking about it, that we need you to do more. We're depending on you. You have this purpose here, and we don't need you here right now. We need you there. So I so resonated when you said that.
Oh, I totally understand. And there's something about, once you've had an experience, there's a longing, because you then I feel that's home. And so there's this longing to return home, and that's a very common after effect for most experiencers. But how you deal with it is kind of interesting. In fact, something I haven't written about was a few years back. I had a very well-known researcher do some work with me, and she saw in my future that I was going to have an opportunity to go home, and I did. It was just exactly the time that she said I was going to have it. Suddenly, I had this experience. I suffered a heat stroke, and it was so severe. I was alone. There was nobody to help me. I was very close to perishing, and I had a conversation with the light and my soul family, and they pretty much told me, yes, this is a transition period for you. You could come home, and you have a choice. But if you choose to return, we've got more work for you. Yeah. and I didn't realize it at the time, but that was just when, my first book came out, and it totally, my life took a left turn after that came out, because my focus then became more about helping other experiencers with that transition. And now with this new one, it's like another turn, like I said, that journey, it weaves around quite a bit,
It sure does. Yeah, and it sounds like that, you help people who are experiencers make this adjustment in terms of being here, and being here in a whole new way.
Yeah, and trying to, the thing that happens to a lot of people that have had experiences or who are on that spiritual path, they'll have experiences that, because it suddenly teaches us the blaring fact of the duality that exists in life, that we have this human vessel that we live in, but we also have that spiritual aspect that is a part of us. And so what many of us struggle with is the weaving together and becoming whole again, integrating both parts of, our human side and our spiritual side, so that we can be whole. And that's kind of where I'm trying to go with this book a little bit, is to try to work toward that connection, toward oneness, but oneness of yourself, because if we can achieve oneness with ourselves, then the greater oneness of all is right there with us, because we're a part of that. So
I love it. And what you said about gratitude, I think, is so important, because that's how I start my day. I've been meditating for 40 years. I start my day with gratitude, and I don't do petition prayers. I really feel like it's saying to God, or saying to the light, or to spirit, or the universe, that I really don't think you're listening. So I'm not sure you're even there. So I'm going to ask for all this stuff. But instead, I sing my prayers. And so, I have this prayer, good morning, God. Thank you for this day. Thank you for my life. Thank you for all my blessings. And then it has several verses that I sing when I wake up, and then I meditate and pray. And anyway, I love that you start your day with gratitude.
That's beautiful. You get to sing your prayers. I'm like you. I don't ask for anything in my gratitudes. It's funny because I'm more. I'm more. If I do ask for anything, it's usually for someone else. Because I'm hoping to help other people, and I guess it's part of that. I've ingrained that being of service into my life. It was a compelling thing when I came back for me. When I came back, I had this. It wasn't very, very long after I came back that I suddenly had this urge that I needed to be, more of service, and that being a chief engineer on a research vessel, I was in my dream job, but it was like, but I didn't feel like I was doing the work I needed to do, because, most of the time I was 500 miles offshore on a job site, things like that. And I couldn't touch humanity too well from there. But this urge, this driving urge to be more of service, and I didn't understand. It took me, years to kind of figure this stuff out. But
I was wondering about that. I was wondering about how your transition was. And the other thing that's hitting me is, didn't you really have another chance to go home when you got cancer?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. In fact, it's very perceptive of you, because the minute the diagnosis was given, I was like, oh, I can go home. Yeah. I can go home. But then in my mind, I could hear that light saying, but you have a purpose,
Yeah.
And so I knew that by experiencing that cancer, I mean, totally experiencing. And stage 4 lung cancer is very serious.
Yes, it is.
And I mean, I went through an incredible period of suffering because my spine collapsed, and it was incredibly painful. And so I had to go through reconstructive surgeries to rebuild my spine and stuff, and they didn't even want to do that because everybody felt I was dying. The prognosis was so poor that they were just going to give me, morphine and Percocet and allow me to expire. And so part of me was like, well, I could do that. I could just follow that path, and I could go home. But the other part of me was saying, no, I saw this in the life preview, part of my life review, where I was seeing the future. I saw I was going to deal with cancer, but I also saw
I wondered about that.
One of the potentials was I could overcome it. And by overcoming it, I could help others because I'd go through the experience. It's one thing when someone's, got a terminal disease and people come and they talk to them and stuff like that. But when they talk to someone else who's gone through where they are, who's been where they are and gotten through it, they can appreciate what I have to say because I've been there.
I think it's wonderful. You really know. We have to take a break. I could talk to you for hours, but we have to take a break. We'll be right back with David Bennett.
The preceding audio was via a Skype call.
Do you want to transform your life's trauma and challenges into the gift that your life was meant to be? It's time for you to take control of your soul journey to heal, grow, and shine. Manifest your destiny with Wendy Wolf, soul transformer, energy, and psychic healer. To start your soul journey, contact Wendy at healgrowshine.com or email Wendy at wendy@wendyrwolf.com and start your adventure today.
Tune in to Prescience Life Radio with host Mia Simone. Mia is devoted to sharing her extensive knowledge on the invisible worlds of energy. Join Mia and discover the science of intuition and connect with your greatest gift. Start living in your potential today and every day by opening up to the power of inner knowledge. To learn more about Mia, visit presciencelife.com.
Become a self-actualized professional coach, mentor, and leader, and make your difference in the world. The Rainer Institute has trained people from 4 continents and is the top-rated, accredited coach platform in the world. You'll learn skills from a program created by Mark Rainer as a result of 35 years of research as to what actually works for positive, lasting change. Come if you dare and give your life a chance at making the difference it so desires. Visit RainerInstitute.com to learn more.
Would you like to remember more of your dreams or understand the ones you have? How about leveraging your sleeping hours to create more in your life? Most of us aren't familiar with this powerful aspect of ourselves. Join Lynn Brown, host of Get Into It, Winning at the Game of Life, at her unique Astral Allies Retreat, September 24th through the 27th. This 3-night retreat in the Cascade Mountains includes food, lodging, energy healings, free time in nature, and immeasurable spiritual growth. Email lynn@ruintoit.com to register as space is limited.
Hi, I'm Leslie Fontaine with Sheer Alchemy on Transformation Talk Radio, and here's your tip of the week. When we own our own responsibility, we're choosing to own our choices, our energy, our day, our jobs, our relationships. It's a tall order. And what difference does that make? Well, plenty. We're choosing to look within, to change agreements within ourselves, to keep our energy field clean, and to upgrade as needed to make choices that are authentic to us. This shifts our language. We no longer blame others. We're no longer victims of our circumstances. So if we don't get paid abundantly or loved abundantly, let's look within and ask, where am I not honoring myself? Where am I not loving myself? Let's change the agreement. Let's get real with what's in place, forgive ourselves and others, and shift into our new life. Visit me at lesliefontaine.com or call me at 678-665-3366. Let this be the last day that you choose to look outwardly and look within.
Let the transition begin. Tune in to the hit show, Majestic Insights Radio, Success for Life's Transitions, with host Carrie Keith. Carrie is a gifted intuitive coach, healer, and teacher who will lead you through her empowering techniques of ancient wisdom and awareness so you can live your happiest, healthiest, and most vibrant life. Let Carrie teach you the tools of transformation that will help you experience success for all of life's transitions. To learn more about Carrie, visit www.majesticinsights.com.
The following audio is via a Skype call.
Welcome back, everyone, to We Carry the Light. This is Dr. Susan, and I am loving the conversation with my guests. I hope that you have been listening the entire time. And this is David Bennett and his book, A Voice as Old as Time, that we're going to be talking about. So before we do, David, tell people how they can contact you and get your book.
Yeah, the best way to reach me is through my website, which is Dharma Talks. And DharmaTalks.com. If you go to dharmatalks.com, there's you'll see all the different services that I do, my transformational coaching, energetic healing, as well as links to my books. And my books are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can get them in Kindle format, Nook, all those formats. In fact, I'm starting to even transition to more Kindles. You know, I always love the paper, the printed paper, but I'm finding Kindle to be quite convenient because I travel so much. I can have 20 books in there and just keep on going, and so it's great.
Yeah, my kids are always saying, "Mom, you need a Kindle." Both of them have them and travel a lot, and I'm leaving for Scotland on Monday. Do I have a Kindle? No. It's like people, I've been kicking and screaming into the 21st century for years. So I do need to get one because I'm going to be hauling this book. And, of course, my journal, I have to be writing constantly. So it's a lot to carry. So I think I'm going to I know one of them is probably going to give me a Kindle for Christmas just because they can't stand it any longer.
There you go. A Kindle or, an e-reader of some sort and a tablet, and you'll be on your way, and a lot lighter. Your suitcase will be a lot lighter, too.
I know it will, but I actually my husband was the one who had every toy, but I have now given away my tablet. I had all kinds of I'm an Apple person, so I had all kinds of things, and I just kept giving them away. And now I have my laptop, and I have my iPhone, and that's really all I need. So
yep.
Low end user. So anyway, I wanted to talk about the book. We haven't even gotten to A Voice of this time because we've been just chatting about everything else, which has been lovely. But I wanted to say that I really loved the book, and I told you before the show that I could tell that your soul family was instrumental in this. You were downloading because the language put me into trance right away, put me in this other kind of groove. So am I right that your soul family was sort of downloading these?
Yeah, as I said earlier, when I started my practice, they would communicate these little seeds to me, and from there we would work together in this contemplation. So yeah, a lot of the verbiage in the book is straight from my soul family. And I also had, the neat thing about the book is I had to distill it down because I couldn't, I need to make it usable. So what I did was there's like 4 reflections for each chapter, so as to keep the book manageable. And so by doing that, by having to cut out almost twice as much, I was able to pick the real essence of each chapter, and all the chapters they go through all kinds of acceptance, tolerance, and truth, which were like the first 3 things that I accepted from my near-death experience. And so I had worked with those for a long time. And then, going through becoming fearless, developing your awareness, enlightenment, being, all of our untapped potentials. I mean, so there's all these chapters on all these different things in the book that, and then of course, spirit communication, energetic exchange. There's a powerful one there.
I have that one checked off. I've got little marks by all of my. I have little marks by all my. Of course, if we had a 4-hour show, we could do this, Dave. But I would like you to talk about maybe some of your favorites, and I don't know if you have it in front of you, but just I'd love for listeners just to hear the language, if that's possible. I know that acceptance is one that you start with, but I also like the breaking free of separateness. I like the creativity and inspiration ones, heart-mind relationship, untapped potentials, living in the moment, mindfulness, gratitude, observing with non-attachment, spiritual maturity.
Is there one you'd like to hear me read out loud? Is that what?
Let's see. Untapped potential I really liked. But even starting with acceptance, since that's where you started, we can't read a lot, but we could read. I just want people to hear the language, which to me, really, I could tell it was from your soul family. So beautiful, the language, and I think I'll let you choose since that is following your higher self or intuition.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll pick like the last one from acceptance. I usually start out with just at the top of each contemplation, I have italicized a small sentence or a couple very brief sentences to give you something to kind of like a seed to start.
I like those.
That kind of energetically starts the reflection. And this one is when we expand our idea of who we are and broaden the scope of our awareness, it leads us to challenge other limitations. And then I go on to say in the reflection, the divine within is ever alert, expanding our awareness so that we see clearly. Expansion creates flashes and peaks of insight, linking our consciousness with our unconscious. Stay true to yourself by knowing what is needed and important in your life. Avoid being drawn in by undesired bargains and services that you don't need. Instead, focus on your unlimited potential, your spiritual connection, and your true daily needs. Stay grounded with a connection to your higher self. And that's only about half of that reflection, but it speaks to accepting, this is who I am, and I don't really need all that stuff in life, It's a rather Zen approach, but and believe me, I have lots of toys. I have a lot of stuff too. Sometimes I wish I didn't, because I don't need the attachment to things as much as I need an attachment to my life and to living my life. And that's what acceptance is really all about for me, is accepting myself. This is who I am right here, right now. Yeah, I may have problems. I've got, things that I need to take care of. But if I accept myself right here, right now, and I try to be the best person I can possibly be, then I'm building the brightest potential future I possibly can. So, so that's the root for me. Accepting self. I think once we get to accepting, okay, this is who I am. And I learned that from my near-death experience, because, like I said, I was a brash young man, chief engineer, a diver, adrenaline junkie Dave, that was me. And suddenly I have this near-death experience, and I didn't have a clue who I really was. I had a lot of times in life we put on these veils of who we want people to think we are, these personas. We put on these personas like robes, and they weigh us down a lot of times because they're not really us. Right. Instead, we take the robe off and allow people to see who we really are, and they're going to really appreciate that more, because when we wear a persona, we're actually being a little dishonest. Yes, we are. We're not really showing someone our true nature. So I say shed all of that as much as possible. We're human. We fall back in and out of habits, but the thing is once you start accepting who you are and living more from your true nature, then you start to develop that as your habit. And so then you don't fall back as often, or you catch yourself sooner, and you take that robe off, you throw it away. You don't need it anymore. I think it was Thich Nhat Hanh one time. One of his books was talking about how our memories, we have these like drawers, and we take our memories out and we display them, we use them in our day-to-day interactions and things like that. And the things in the top drawer, that's the ones we use the most, Well, a lot of times the things that are in that top drawer maybe aren't our best traits, Mm-hmm. So what we need to do is we need to pull out the best traits and start putting them in the top drawer, so we pull on them more often. And then it just so happens that the undesirable traits will slowly go down to lower drawers. They're still there. That's right. But, they don't go away. But you don't draw them open. You just don't pull out. You don't pull on them as much, and so you start to pull more on the things. And it's interesting. Science now is I've been reading some articles recently where science is saying that our mind does affect the way our DNA, our gene structures, things like that, are influenced by the way we think, the way we talk, the way we act. Yeah. So, if we can accept ourselves and then start living from that truth, that's a core truth right there. And I have a whole chapter on truth, living your truth, too.
Yeah, I like that chapter.
Yeah, because it's so important. Because once you start doing that, you're going to start changing your DNA, your cell structure. All of that is permeated with this new sense of higher being. And it's so interesting that once we start living that way, the universe hears it. And it starts aligning. That's right. It starts aligning for us, and then life becomes smoother. Even though there's bumps in the roads and things come up, we don't perceive them as these major mountains anymore. They just become obstacles that we can overcome. And so the universe then aligns what we need to overcome and to learn and to grow and all of that. And so life to me is a great adventure, and I just enjoy watching it unfold. I had one interviewer one time ask me, well, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I'm like, I don't know, and that's the great mystery that I love. Yeah. I don't know where I'll be in 5 years, but, boy, I can't wait to get there and see what's happening, Yeah,
well, boy, your life is sure transformed. It's amazing where you are now with this book. And I love how you set this book up, that it's like, like you said, there's a seed, there's this, there's acceptance, tolerance, truth, and then authenticity, which, knowing what your truth is in terms of who you truly are, that deeper, higher self person, and then authentically being that person everywhere. And isn't that the trick, that you show up everywhere as this person rather than these personas?
Yeah. Authenticity is so important. And you know what? Our soul really smiles when you're living authentically. Your soul and you get so much more energy. There's so much more vital force, and your essence is so much imbued with that light when you're being authentic. It's just, and when you get that, you that's the greatest high in the world. I mean,
that's right.
You don't need need anything else. And then of course you move toward even more deeper spiritual paths. Once you learn those basic tenets, acceptance, tolerance, truth, and then you start seeing how living authentic, can be is the right way to step forward in life. And not only in life and physical life, but also in your spiritual nature,
Absolutely.
It opens the door. And so like what you're working on, the shamanic journeying and that sort of thing, and sharing that, it becomes so much easier to go down that road. It's so much easier to make connection because you're already in a place of connection with yourself. You need that first,
Absolutely. That authenticity of just showing up and being much more like pulling the top drawers of who you are, your higher nature. And one thing that I've realized recently, I just had an astrological reading, and I'm so sensitive and emotional, and I think it's kind of hard to be here sometimes. That's the only thing that sometimes I face is my authentic self is very sensitive and emotional. Mm-hmm. And I the world can be kind of harsh and hard for me. Mm-hmm. And so that's been my greatest trick recently, as being fully my authentic self out here. And, just protecting myself in a sense from some things that push up against this sort of newly birthed being that I am. I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh, totally. And the sensitivity is so normal because you've got it heightens your sensitivity as you go through this transformation. And we become so much more empathic that we feel other people's suffering. And we feel their pain. And so at that point, what the next step would be to develop some discernment and the ability to be the observer, because as you become the observer, you start to see the higher purpose behind things sometimes, because we're human. We're not living in the light totally. We've chosen this human life to live. And so but when we become the observer, we kind of become a little detached. Not in a bad way, though. A lot of people think detachment is a bad word. The meaning I'm trying to convey is a detachment with compassion. Mm-hmm. So you're still very compassionate, but you're observing from that compassionate center of yourself, that authentic part of yourself, and you also understand, once you start living from your authentic self, that there's no this false sense of separation that we experience. We all feel like we're these individuals walking around in a world that is crazy, and so I have to protect myself. And a lot of times what we do in just self-defense is we create a shell of protection around ourselves,
Yes.
And that just creates more separation. Which is, it becomes this vicious cycle sometimes. And so once you start living more from your authentic self and touching your true nature, you understand that the separateness is an illusion. It's not real. And that we are interconnected, that we are a part of a greater oneness, And so once you could break free from that illusion of separateness, then you can develop that observer status, and it helps with that sensitivity, because then you can work from compassion, and you begin to see that when you work that way, you're more productive, because you're not distracted so much, so you're able to really zero in on what the compassionate need is and provide the solutions.
Yeah. I like that. I like that, being the observer, because I get caught up in what's happening and let it affect me way too much. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a dance in terms of, no, we're not separate, but also to use discernment about where I'm showing up and the people that I surround myself with and the experiences that I have. And so I do feel that there's certain situations and things that I just don't want to be engaged in. Like, I never watch the news. There's certain things I do that also are protective in a way. And I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I think we have to look at our own lives, and this is a personal, and it goes right back to reflection and contemplation. You have to look at your life and say, what's healthy for me here, right now? Because that could change in a year from now. Could be totally different. What's healthy for you,
Exactly.
But I went through the same period. I had to detach to a point where I didn't want all that input because I was having a real hard time dealing with it. It felt like I started carrying all the cares of the world on my shoulders, and it was just dragging me down. It wasn't healthy for me to do that. And so I don't know very many people that are capable of doing that. Yeah. So I do know two, but that's another story. But there are people that are capable of taking on that much, but not very, very few on this that walk this earth. And so sometimes we need that discernment. We need to know what's good for us, what's healthy for us. Sometimes there's relationships in our life that we go through that are the same way, Yeah. Everyone we meet, we're really in relationship with everyone we meet, everyone we interact with. And when you start to approach life that way, that every person that I'm going to cross paths with is a relationship of some sort, some nature,
That's right.
And some are healthy and some are unhealthy. And you need to, you need that discernment, and you need that sense of, and the observer really helps with that.
I love that. I'm going to use that in my life is the observer. And I would love to, I think I'm going to contact you on your website and maybe do some coaching with you, which other people also can do. And dharmatalks.com, everyone. And David, we're winding down, but is there anything that you want to leave people with? And, this is a book about contemplation and reflective meditation. It's very different from regular meditation. It's about really contemplating, reflecting, and it's to help us change our lives, which is why I love this book. Is there something you'd like to say at the end here?
Well, reflection, the reason I called it a voice as old as time is the voice that we hear is a voice that's as old as time, because it's connected to the wisdom of the universal oneness, the universal all. And so it's a gentle link to our ancestors that help us to expand our consciousness. And by expanding our consciousness, we're able to live a better life, a more focused and successful life. And I wish everybody can move forward on their spiritual journeys. And I, wish everyone the best as far as.
Thank you. Well, your book, and I'm going to get the other one too, but your book definitely will help people. It's going to help, thousands, maybe even millions of people. And I thank you so much for sharing your life and your work with us today.
Thank you, Susan. I love the show. It's so great to just speak to you and with open heart. I love this type of format. It's the best.
Me too. And you have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too.
And thank you, all my listeners. And I see you as true seekers. May you find fulfillment on your path. Next week, our guest is Jamie Kolaga, sharing her new book, The Superwoman's Guide to Super Fulfillment, speaking of fulfillment. Until then, this is Dr. Susan reminding you that you carry the light.
You've been listening to the transformative show, We Carry the Light, with host Dr. Susan Allison, the show that inspires you to find the light within and shine your light in the world. Who are you right now, and who do you want to be? What is it that makes you happy, helps you feel fulfilled, and living your purpose? Tune in every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, and let Dr. Susan help you discover that you carry the unique light that only you can shine.